Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braje Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braje Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. So, welcome to the Srimad-Bhagavatam class. Thank you all for coming. And I seek the blessings of all of you to say something of value. You're all my seniors, so please give me blessings. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, beginning the chapter entitled Praise of King Prithu by the Professional Reciters. And we'll be reading text 1. So we can go line by line. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim Kaya Kamuni Chodita Tushtuvushtushtamanasas Tadvag Amrita Sevaya. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim Kaya Kamuni Chodita Tushtavushtushtamanasas Tadvag Amrita Sevaya. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim Kaya Kamuni Choditaha Tushtavushtushtamanasas Tadvag Amrita Sevaya. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim Kaya Kamuni Choditaha Tushtavushtushtamanasas Tadvag Amrita Sevaya. Maitreya Uvacha. Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim. Kayaka Muni Choditaha. Justamanasas. Tadvag Amrita Sevaya. Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Iti, thus, Bruvanam, speaking, Nirpatim, the king, Gayaka, the reciters, Muni, by the sages, Chodita, having been instructed, Tustuvu, praised, satisfied, Tusta, being pleased, Manasa, their minds, Tat, his, Vak, words, Amrita, nectarian, Sevaya, by hearing. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Maitreya continued, while King Prithu thus spoke, the humility of his nectarian speeches pleased the reciters very much. Then again they continued to praise the king highly with exalted prayers as they had been instructed by the great sages. Purport. Here the word Muni Chodataha indicates instructions received from great sages and saintly persons. Although Maharaj Prithu was simply enthroned on the royal seat and was not at that time exhibiting his godly powers, the reciters like the Sutta, the Magadha, and the Vandi understood that King Prithu was an incarnation of God. They could understand this by the instructions given by the great sages and learned brahmanas. We have to understand the incarnations of God by the instructions of authorized persons. We cannot manufacture a God by our own concoctions. As stated by Narottam Das Thakur, Sadhu Shastra Guru, one has to test all spiritual matters according to the instructions of saintly persons, scriptures, and the spiritual master. The spiritual master is one who follows the instructions of his predecessors, namely the sadhus or saintly persons. A bona fide spiritual master does not mention anything not mentioned in the authorized scriptures. Ordinary people have to follow the instructions of sadhu, shastra, and guru. Those statements made in the shastras and those made by the bona fide sadhu or guru cannot differ from one another. Reciters like the Sutta and the Magadha were confidentially aware that King Prithu was an incarnation of the personality of Godhead. Although the king denied such praise because he was not at that time exhibiting his godly qualities, the reciters did not stop praising him. Rather, they were very pleased with the king, who, although actually an incarnation of God, was so humble and delightful in his dealings with devotees. In this connection, we may note that previously, in Srimad-Bhagavatam 4.16.1, it was mentioned that King Prithu was smiling and was in a pleasant mood while speaking to the reciters. Thus we have to learn from the Lord or his incarnation how to become gentle and humble. The king's behavior was very pleasing to the reciters, and consequently the reciters continued their praise and even foretold the king's future activities as they had been instructed by the sadhus and sages. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we are reading about the pastime of Maharaj Prithu. So in the previous chapter, he was basically churned from the body of King Vena, who is extremely sinful. And from him, when the sages cursed him to die, they churned his body and two personalities came out. One was Bahuka, the personification of all sin, and the other was Maharaj Prithu. So Prithu Maharaj represents the ideal leader, and he's showing the example of how to be a leader in this world. And he is a Shaktiavesh avatar. He is an empowered incarnation of Krishna. So at this time in the previous chapter, there were all these, once he appeared, there were all these demigods and great personalities coming and offering him items, worship and praise. And because he had not yet manifest his godly qualities, he just appeared and he didn't do anything in the world yet that showed his godly qualities. It seemed premature for all these demigods to offer him such praise. And they did it rightly so, because he is an incarnation of God and he deserves the praise. But he felt that he was unworthy of the praise yet because he had not manifested any of these qualities. So it just shows how he is so saintly. It's the opposite of what we experience in modern times. Nowadays, people want praise, and when they don't have the qualification to receive it. And Maharaj Prithu, on the other hand, has the qualification, but does not want to receive it. So in modern times, everyone is pretending to be an incarnation of God. They're acting like I'm God in some way, and they're cheating people. But Maharaj Prithu, who is God, is acting that he's not God because he doesn't want to receive the praise. So it's just a nice contrast to the current times. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is very strong about this point of how, and in the purports also in the previous chapter, about how Maharaj Prithu was so humble that he did not accept this praise. And he goes on in the previous chapter saying it shouldn't be due to me. This praise shouldn't be given because I have not manifested anything yet. And that pleased the reciters more because they could see how humble he was. He's a true leader. And Srila Prabhupada brings up an important point about how we cannot manufacture a God. We cannot assume someone is God or accept someone as an incarnation of God without proper evidence. And at that time, at least when Srila Prabhupada was writing these purports, there were many incarnations in India, lots of people claiming that they're God, doing some small magic trick and fooling people. Because the innocent population, they don't know what is the qualification of God. They don't know what are the qualities of God, what are the pastimes of God, and the activities. So if they saw someone just manifesting some small power, they would accept, wow, this person is God. And Srila Prabhupada also commented that people think manufacturing a small amount of gold means you're God. But actually, Krishna can manufacture unlimited gold. He can lift Govardhan hill. He can kill the demon Putana as a baby. He can kill the Agasura demon. Krishna can perform all these wondrous activities. And if you challenge the incarnations, the people who are claiming to be incarnations, and say, lift up Govardhan hill and perform all these pastimes of Krishna, they can't do it. But because the general population don't know the qualities and pastimes of Krishna, they're not able to challenge. So it's it's actually our responsibility to educate everyone as to who is actually God, so that they don't continue to be cheated by false gods. And that was previously. I don't know how many incarnations there are currently. I mean, I did see online actually one such personality with tulsi on his feet, like tulsi leaves on his feet. And that is like the personification of trying to take Krishna's position, because Krishna has tulsi leaves on his feet. So that was weird to see in the modern day. But there are such things going around. But these days, our pretense of trying to be God is not so overt. It's not like we claiming to be an incarnation. These days, we are just trying to be the center of our life. We're trying to enjoy. We're trying to enjoy as if we're God. So even people who have these multi-million-dollar companies, the CEOs, they have this, in many cases, they have this pride, like they're in control. They are supreme. They are unstoppable, unbeatable. They are, it's in a subtle way, trying to take the qualities of God, of Krishna. And everyone's doing this in the material world in a smaller or larger scale. And the more opulence people have generally means that they have more facility to assume that they're God without saying, I am God, but they act as if they're God. Everything revolves around them. All facilities meant for their enjoyment. So Srila Prabhupada is very strongly refuting that anyone other than Krishna is God. Sri Sri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we need to follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. What does the Shastra say about the incarnations of God? In Srimad-Bhagavatam 11th canto, chapter 4 and 5, there's a very nice description of the different incarnations that appear in the different ages. I'm just going to read some of those verses. So text 20 of chapter 5 of canto 11 says, Sri Karabhajana replied, in each of the 4 yugas or ages, Krita, Treta, Dwapar and Kali, Lord Keshava appears with various complexions, names and forms, and is thus worshipped by various processes. In Satya Yuga, the Lord is white and 4-armed, has matted locks and wears a garment of tree bark. He carries a black deer skin, a sacred thread, prayer beads, and the rod and water pot of a brahmachari. People in Satya Yuga are peaceful, non-envious, friendly to every creature, and steady in all situations. They worship the Supreme Personality by austere meditation and by internal and external sense control. In Satya Yuga, the Lord is glorified by the names Hamsa, Suparna, Vaikunta, Dharma, Yogeshvara, Amala, Ishvara, Purusha, Avyakta, and Paramatma. In Treta Yuga, the Lord appears with a red complexion. He has 4 arms, golden hair, and wears a triple belt representing initiation into each of the 3 Vedas. Embodying the knowledge of worship by sacrificial performance, which is contained in the Rig, Sama, and Yajur Vedas, his symbols are the ladle, spoon, and other implements of sacrifice. In Treta Yuga, those members of human society who are fixed in religiosity and are sincerely interested in achieving the absolute truth worship Lord Hari, who contains within himself all the demigods. The Lord is worshipped by the rituals of sacrifice taught in the three Vedas. So it's described that in Satya Yuga, the people were completely Krishna conscious, and in Treta Yuga, they were not automatically Krishna conscious, but they were inclined, very much inclined and naturally attracted to Krishna consciousness. But they needed to be perfected through the performance of Vedic sacrifice. In Treta Yuga, the Lord is glorified by the names Vishnu, Yagya, Prishnigarbha, Sarvadeva, Urukrama, Vrishakapi, Jayanta, and Urugaya. In Dwapar Yuga, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears with a dark blue complexion, wearing yellow garments. The Lord's transcendental body is marked in this incarnation with Srivatsa and other distinctive ornaments, and he manifests his personal weapons. My dear King, in Dwapar Yuga, men who desire to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Enjoyer, worship him in the mood of honoring a great king, following the prescriptions of both the Vedas and Tantras. Obeisances to you, O Supreme Lord Vasudev, and to your forms of Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all obeisances unto you, O Lord Narayana Rishi, O Creator of the universe, best of personalities, Master of this cosmos and original form of the universe, O Supersoul of all created entities, all homage unto you. So this is describing Lord Krishna, this Dwapar Yuga incarnation. And then Kali Yuga is mentioned. O King, in this way people in Dwapar Yuga glorify the Lord of the universe. In Kali Yuga also people worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following various regulations of the revealed scriptures. Now kindly hear of this from me. And this is the famous verse. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parsadam Yagye Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. And then there's a further description in the next verse. My dear Lord, you are the Mahapurush, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I worship your lotus feet, which are the only eternal object of meditation. Those feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life and freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of pure love of Godhead. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places and of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all the distress of your servants. In conclusion, my Lord, your lotus feet are actually the suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death, and therefore even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter at your lotus feet. O Mahapurush, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmana's curse. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion, and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shyamasundar. So these verses describe Lord Chaitanya, the description of the incarnation for Kali Yuga. So if one reads the scripture, we actually know, we can see who is an incarnation and what the incarnation is meant to do in this world. But without such knowledge, most people would accept anyone as an incarnation. And another reason that generally people are confused is because of the lack of a bona fide spiritual master, because it's Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we have to read the Shastra, but of course the Shastra is not easy to understand on its own. So we need to hear from the Shastra under the guidance of a spiritual master. And this is another thing where people are being cheated, because nobody knows who is a bona fide spiritual master. So it's also up to us to educate on what that means. What is a spiritual master? Srila Prabhupada says in this purport that spiritual master is the one who follows the instructions of his predecessors, namely the sadhus or saintly persons. So the first qualification of a spiritual master is that he must be in the disciplic succession leading to Krishna. He cannot be a self-made guru. Like these days everyone is self-made. But a bona fide spiritual master must follow the instructions of his guru. And his guru must also be a bona fide spiritual master who is following the instructions of his spiritual master. And all the way like that, there must be a link back to Krishna. So we are fortunate that we have Srila Prabhupada, who directly comes in such a line, disciplic line, and has explicitly revealed the line and who the personalities are in this line of disciplic succession. So there's no confusion as to his, where did he get his knowledge? What is he teaching us? Did he just make everything up? Because these days there's many people who can make up something, and if they get enough followers or enough influence, it's just believed to be true. Like on social media, everyone is now self-made. Like they're self-made. There's this concept of being self-made, which means I don't need anyone. I do everything on my own. Like I built my life the way it is. I studied, I worked, I started a company. I did my whole life, like I did it all by myself. So that mentality also infiltrates spiritual understanding, where people think, I'll just figure out my spiritual path myself. I will, I'll know what's best for me. I will do what's best for me and what I feel. And to some extent, everyone has to obviously be comfortable with their spiritual path. But if one feels a spiritual path that's not linked to any bona fide practice, then it's not going to lead you anywhere. It's like taking a dead-end road, a long road that has no destination. Like let's say there's a crossroads and you don't know which path to take, and one road looks very beautiful, but it is a dead end. It doesn't lead anywhere. And then there may be some other roads which don't look so attractive, but they actually lead you to the destination you want to go to. So one may be fooled and think, oh, this path looks attractive, I'll just take that road, but it doesn't lead anywhere. So that's the path of thinking that we know best, we know what we want. And such a path of being self-made is actually based totally on the mind and senses. And from Bhagavad Gita, we know that our mind cannot be trusted until it is purified. Our mind dictates all kinds of desires that we may or may not have. And the mind generally is in the business of accepting and rejecting quite frivolously. So sometimes the mind pushes us to do things that we wouldn't want to do if we had strong intelligence. That's why it said the mind is above the senses, but the intelligence is above the mind. So when we have strong intelligence, we can control our mind into doing what's beneficial for us. But without strong intelligence, our mind is actually uncontrolled. So we can't trust it. Whatever, if the mind tells us like this would be a good spiritual path for you to just see how you go with it, whatever makes you feel good, it might not be the best path. It might not be the right path that's going to lead you to the destination, which is back to Godhead. So until we go through the process of purifying our mind, we cannot trust it. And that's why we cannot trust our mind and senses. And that's why doing a path that feels good because someone who does not have a bona fide spiritual master told you to won't actually lead anywhere. So this is also what's happening in the current day, where there's all these personalities who are putting forth some kind of process that's meant to have some spiritual awakening. And it may get you somewhere, but it won't take you to the final destination directly. It may be a stepping stone to the final destination, but if they don't have a spiritual master that leads all the way back up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then where is their knowledge coming from? We see this on social media all the time. It's not just swamis, it's just people who have some process of meditation, mindfulness, some technique that's meant to improve our life. And it can externally and materially improve our life to an extent, but we can't substitute that for spiritual understanding, for deep spiritual absorption and understanding. So that, so this is the point of having a bona fide spiritual master. And some may say, why do we even need a spiritual master? My heart, I'll follow the path of my heart. But if someone was doing a surgery on you, you'd want them to have studied. They can't just start operating on you because they think they know something about medicine or surgery. So everybody needs a teacher in whatever field of life we are doing. And we need a qualified teacher, an authorized teacher. The definition of acharya is one who teaches by example. So a teacher is meant to not just tell you the way, but they're meant to show you the way by the way they live. So that's the benefit of having a spiritual teacher and one who comes in a bona fide line of disciplic succession. And then there's the sadhus. The sadhus are guiding and nourishing us. So we have our spiritual master, we have the Shastra, and then there's all the other sadhus who are also following the path and who have their own spiritual masters and who are also following the Shastra. So those three things must always be in alignment. All spiritual topics will be validated by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So another part of this purport that I thought was interesting was about how Maharaj Prithu dealt with the reciters. It says that he was very humble and delightful in his dealings with the devotees. And it says that he was speaking in a pleasant mood. And Srila Prabhupada says, we have to learn from the Lord or his incarnation how to become gentle and humble. So I took this as a very nice example and meditation in our dealings with each other. I think it follows a little bit like the Bhagavad Gita verse on the austerities of speech, that we should only speak things that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and regularly reciting the Vedic literature. So Maharaj Prithu dealt very gently with others. And that's also a mark of a saintly personality, that they're gentle in their dealings. They're not harsh, or even though they're strong and strict, they're not harsh. They're not hurtful. They're gentle and they know how to deal appropriately with the different levels of people around. So that was also quite instructive to us of how he humbly refused the praise, but still very mellow and gentle in his dealings. And the point about him refusing the praise is actually the biggest lesson we can learn, because we love to be praised. We love it when people are glorifying us and telling us how wonderful we are, even if we really don't have the qualities they're talking about. And here, Maharaj Prithu has those qualities. They just haven't been externally manifest yet. But he is just gently refusing the praise. Not in an attached way, in a very detached way, like this. Like, he doesn't need the praise. A lot of us need that validation from people. We need constant reminders and constant encouragement and constant support. But he doesn't need that, because he's the Supreme Lord. He's completely detached. He can just not accept praise, and it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to make him elated when he receives it, nor is he going to be discouraged when he doesn't receive it. So that's also our lesson, because in Bhagavad Gita it says that we should be equipoised in praise and honor and dishonor and all of that. So that's also instructive. I'll end here and leave some time for questions or comments from people. I'm hoping that others will have something to share, because everyone here is senior to me. So please share something, some comment, anything. If there's nothing, we can end. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.